Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are looking at a really fascinating stack of your notes, blueprints, and research papers, all focused on urban food resilience.
Yeah, and it's a pretty wild collection of sources this time.
It really is. And our mission today is to test this rather radical premise from your notes.
Hmm.
Basically, we're asking if dumping 10 cubic yards of industrial dirt onto a suburban driveway can actually feed a city.
Right, which sounds completely absurd when you say it out loud.
It totally does. But okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because this whole deep dive revolves around a really clever double meaning in the title of this model.
Exactly. So the research refers to the concept as 10 yards to feed a city. And that word yards is doing like serious double duty here.
Right, because on one hand, it's a physical measurement, right?
Yeah, a standard gravel truck can deliver exactly 10 cubic yards of black dirt or, organic growing material.
But then there's the second meaning, which is about the community.
Right. It refers to a pilot program involving 10 literal front yards, like 10 households on a street that use those soil deliveries to create these highly productive food plots.
Which is just such a cool way to frame it. So for everyone listening, this isn't just about planting a few heirloom tomatoes in the backyard.
No, definitely not.
This is a hopeful, practical, and honestly visionary blueprint for completely transforming how neighborhoods sustain themselves.
Yeah, and we really need to establish the why here for you listening, because we live in an era of these incredibly complex global supply chains.
Right, where your lettuce comes from 1,000 miles away.
Exactly. And this source material asks a radically simple question, like, can we use the massive industrial tools that are already driving through our cities every single day to kickstart local food independence?
It's such a brilliant pivot. But to understand how 10 households can actually feed a neighborhood, we really have to figure out how to get the ground ready first.
Yeah, the literal foundation of the whole thing.
Right. Which brings us to the physical catalyst, just acquiring the dirt. Because reading through this, the concept of a 10-yard soil delivery as the starting point is wild.
It is. It's a huge logistical undertaking.
Wait, so the first step of this visionary pilot is just dumping a massive mountain of dirt onto a suburban driveway.
I mean, yes, that is exactly what they're proposing.
But that's a nightmare. You're talking about heavy-duty dump trucks dropping payloads the size of a minivan right onto concrete. Like,
Yeah.
could One-truckload actually sponsor a single yard?
Well, the sources suggest that excavation or trucking companies could just donate these loads.
Which reminds me of, like, corporate sponsorships for local Little League baseball teams.
Oh, that's a great way to think about it.
Right. Except instead of buying jerseys with a hardware store logo on the back, an excavation company is sponsoring a family's literal food security with a truckload of organic material.
What's fascinating here is just how elegant that solution really is, because
Yeah.
the biggest barrier to urban farming, the thing that stops most people before they even start, is the soil itself.
Oh, because urban soil is basically dead, right?
Yeah, it's dead, or worse, it's toxic. You've got heavy compaction from decades of construction equipment, plus legacy contamination.
Like lead paint chips from old houses.
Exactly. Or decades of runoff from leaded gasoline. You absolutely cannot safely grow food in that.
So the 10-yard dirt delivery isn't just to save you from digging.
No, not at all.
It's actually a quarantine measure. It lets these families instantly build safe, nutrient-dense topsoil completely above that toxic layer.
Exactly. By utilizing trucking companies to bring in fresh organic material, the pilot cleverly redirects existing industrial infrastructure to solve this grassroots problem.
It's so smart. But let's be real for a second, because I live in a neighborhood with a super strict homeowners association.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah, if a commercial dump truck dropped 10 yards of dirt on my driveway on a Tuesday, I'd have a massive fine taped to my front door by noon.
And that's where the Little League sponsorship analogy actually saves the day.
Wait, really? The sign makes a difference?
It makes all the difference. When you put up a sign that says, Neighborhood Food Initiative sponsored by Smith Excavation, it changes the entire context.
Oh, wow.
Look,
Because it's not just a messy pile of dirt anymore.
Right. It transforms an eyesore into a sanctioned, community-backed project. It gives the homeowner political cover.
That is just brilliant optics. But, okay, the dirt is ultimately just the starting line. Once that dump truck drives away, you are left with this massive human puzzle.
Right. The hardest part of any project, the people.
Exactly. You have 10 different families with 10 different schedules trying to turn raw soil into a reliable caloric yield, which feels impossible.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. The 10-yard household pilot concept introduces this crucial idea of neighborhood crop co-op specialization.
Which, when I was reading your notes, I instantly compared to a highly efficient potluck dinner.
I like that. How so?
Well, instead of 10 households all struggling to grow a tiny, miserable bit of everything like a few sad carrots, one tomato plant, a handful of beans they specialize.
Right, which completely changes the dynamic.
Yeah. So yard A grows only tomatoes. Yard B grows only zucchini. And then once harvest comes, they just trade.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's basically applying the macroeconomic concept of comparative advantage to a suburban street.
Oh, that makes total sense.
Yeah, because crop specialization turns 10 isolated, stressed-out hobby gardens into a genuinely resilient microeconomy.
Because you only have to learn how to do one thing perfectly.
Exactly. It completely reduces the individual burden. If you're only growing potatoes, you just become the street's foremost expert on the Colorado potato beetle, and that's it.
Which definitely increases the overall yield. But there's a huge risk there, isn't there?
Like if a crop fails.
Yeah. If I'm the tomato guy
Yeah.
and my plants get wiped out by late frost, the whole street loses tomatoes for the year.
That is the inherent risk of a monoculture, yeah.
Yeah.
But the blueprint actually accounts for this.
Oh, really? How?
By adding another layer to the pilot, they advocate for greenhouse partnerships to get the seedlings going.
Oh, right. I saw that in the notes. Because starting crops from seeds is basically the highest attrition phase of farming.
Right. It is incredibly volatile. Seeds just fail to sprout or a sudden cold snap kills them.
So they outsource that entire risky phase.
Exactly. Partnering with local greenhouses for seedlings further lowers the barrier to entry. The greenhouse germinates the seeds and hardens off the plants.
Hardening off being when you get the plants used to the harsh outdoor weather, right?
Right. So by the time the neighbors get them, they're robust. This ensures these 10 households have a really high rate of early success.
Which is huge for morale.
Oh, absolutely. Seeing immediate green growth in that sponsored dirt keeps people motivated to actually do the weeding.
Okay, so the 10 yards are now successfully specialized. They've got their greenhouse seedlings, and they are actually growing food.
They're a humming little microeconomy.
Right. But the source material asks if this can feed a whole city.
Yeah, that's the big leap.
So we have to move the narrative from this insular 10-home pilot outward to the broader civic impact.
And that involves something called grow-a-row donations.
Row a row. Okay, so meaning a portion of the harvest is specifically dedicated to charity, right?
Exactly. Every single yard in the co-op deliberately overproduces, and that excess goes straight to local food banks or community kitchens.
So what does this all mean for you as a listener? Is this just a cute, feel-good experiment for 10 lucky houses? Or can a visible front yard pilot actually force a city to change its infrastructure?
This raises an important question, and it's the core of the whole model. The visibility is the entire point.
Right, because they specifically mandate that these plots have to be in the front yard, not hidden in the back.
Exactly. If you grow a massive surplus of food in your backyard, nobody knows. It's just a private hobby.
But in the front yard, it's impossible to ignore.
It forces public awareness. Every single city council member who drives down that street has to look at hundreds of pounds of produce growing where useless turf grass used to be.
It's basically a living billboard for food resilience.
It is. It proves the model to the neighbors and, more importantly, to the local government.
Because the Grow Row donations prove the pilot actually produces a surplus.
Right. And that surplus gives city governments a very tangible incentive to participate.
Because cities spend millions trying to feed people.
Yeah.
Right? Food insecurity is a massive municipal drain.
Exactly. So if this neighborhood is organically producing thousands of pounds of free charitable food, the city takes notice.
And what can the city actually do to help?
Well, they could start by easing restrictive zoning laws, or they could actually start subsidizing urban agriculture directly.
Oh, like offering cheaper water rates for designated food plots.
Exactly. Or using municipal compost facilities to supply the dirt instead of relying on private excavation companies.
Wow. So to summarize this whole journey for you listening,
Yeah.
we started with a donated gravel truck of dirt just dumped on a driveway.
Which seemed crazy at first.
Totally.
Yeah.
But then it turns into this highly specialized 10-yard co-op backed by commercial greenhouses. And finally, it scales into this citywide movement of grow-a-row donations that literally forces local governments to update their infrastructure.
It perfectly shows how a monumental shift in urban resilience can start with just a very simple, scalable blueprint.
It really does answer that desire for those practical aha moments we love finding in your notes.
Yeah, it really takes the theory and grounds it in reality. But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today, something that builds on this but goes a bit further.
Oh, I love these. Lay it on me.
So, if 10 households can successfully organize to completely decouple themselves from the commercial grocery supply chain through a simple neighborhood co-op, what happens next?
Oh, man, that's a huge question.
Right. Could a successful 10 yards food pilot actually become the Trojan horse for decentralizing other essential utilities?
Wait, like what? Like the power grid?
Exactly. Neighborhood level energy grids using solar or localized water collection and purification systems.
Because the trust and the organization are already there.
Precisely. Once neighbors learn to legally navigate zoning laws and rely on each other for their literal daily sustenance, the traditional borders of the suburban lawn might never look the same.
The food is just the proof of concept. The real harvest is the community itself. That is an incredible place to leave it. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us, and we'll catch you on the next one.